Welcome to Mrs. Stalick's Resource Zone. We have a couple special guests with us today. My nieces, Natalie and Maggie. They were very excited to help me review a lesson for you guys today about direct and indirect objects. Right, girls?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Why don't you tell us where you're from?
We're from Chicago.
From Chicago, all the way from Chicago. And what are we celebrating together?
Thanksgiving.
Okay, so now on with the show. So we are going to practice our direct and indirect objects, right, girls?
Yeah.
So I'm going to write a sentence on the board. This is Maggie. So I am going to write Maggie gives Natalie, that's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Natalie a book. Okay. As you guys know, the first thing you need to do when you attack a sentence is find your verb. And it's either an action verb or it could be a linking verb. So maybe, Maggie, you're in 4th grade, right? Maybe you could underline for us the verb in this sentence. Maggie gives Natalie a book. That's right, gives. Very good. And I will ask you, is that an action? Once you look at the camera and tell the camera, is gives an action? Is that something you can do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Action verb.
Gives is an action verb. And in 4th grade, you haven't learned a lot about linking verbs yet, right?
No, not
But our 7th graders and 6th graders and 8th graders, they know the difference between action verbs and linking verbs. Okay, the next thing you always ask yourself to figure out the subject is who or what gives? Natalie, can you answer that question? Who or what gives Natalie a book? Who?
Maggie gives Natalie a book.
That's right. Maggie gives. So Maggie is the subject of the sentence, okay?
Mhm.
So next thing we need to do is look at the rest of the sentence. Okay, we're going to act this out for you before we label anything else. So Maggie, you hold on to this book. And Natalie, you just step right over here. Okay, Maggie, can you give Natalie a book?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to ask ourselves this question. Maggie gives what? And what is the answer to that question, Maggie? Maggie gives what?
A book.
A book. So book answers the question what, and that is our direct object. We have a subject, an action verb, and a noun that answers the question what. So it is a direct object. Now we have to ask ourselves another question. Maggie gives Natalie a book. So to whom does Maggie give the book? To whom does Maggie give the book?
So Natalie?
To Natalie. Natalie is the answer to the question, to whom does Maggie give the book? So Natalie is the indirect object. Maggie is the subject. Gives is the action verb. Book is the direct object. And Natalie is the indirect object. So anytime we have a subject, and then we have an action verb, and then we have a noun that answers the question what? That is a direct object. Every sentence that has an action verb and a noun that answers the question what has a direct object. Now, if we have the answer to whom the direct object is given, then that is an IO, an indirect object, and it will always come before the direct object. Not every sentence has an indirect object, okay? You will never have a sentence that just has a subject, an action verb, and an indirect object. You cannot have an indirect object without a direct object. It must have a direct object to have an indirect object. So, what do we think, girls? Have we learned something today?
Yes.
Have we helped our 7th graders and our 6th graders and maybe some of our 8th graders?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining me for this lesson today. We hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving, and maybe you'll make another guest appearance in the future. Sound good? Okay, till next time.
Bye.
Bye.